citizenry, banks became popular targets for robbers in cars, or so-called motorized bandits. High-powered weapons, such as the Thompson submachine gun, the famed Tommy gun seen in every 1930s gangster film, allowed bank robbers to overwhelm locals wielding only six-shooters. Compounding the problem for law enforcement, the rules were stacked in the outlaws' favor. When they robbed a bank in, say, Indiana, and drove their fast getaway cars to cross the border into Ohio or Illinois, no one could touch them. Not the FBI, because there was no federal jurisdiction, not the peace officers in the state to which the bandits fled, because they had committed no crime there. The only law officers with authority to chase and arrest the bandits were those in the state of the original robbery, and their jurisdiction stopped at the state line. Murder, even of a federal officer, was not a federal crime either. In retrospect, it is amazing how little authority the FBI had to combat violent crime at the time. But then, it wasn't originally envisioned as a crime-fighting unit. President Theodore Roosevelt and his Attorney General created the FBI in 1908 as a small corps of detectives within the U.S. Department of Justice to investigate corporate wrongdoing and fraudulent government land deals. In the aftermath of World War I, the FBI was preoccupied with red-baiting activities that Hoover, as the young head of the General Intelligence Division, had eagerly carried out, spying on communists, socialists, anarchists, labor organizers, and other subversives, then rounding up and deporting them. Luckily for Hoover, although the lawless program was exposed and discredited in the early 1920s, it ended without any damage to his own reputation inside the federal government as an honest and efficient administrator. Enforcing prohibition, before its repeal in 1933, was a U.S. Treasury Department responsibility, so the FBI didn't deal with bootleggers such as Al Capone and their gun-toting henchmen. And the Internal Revenue Service, under Treasury, was in charge of prosecuting tax evasion. It was T-men, not G-men, who brought down Capone in 1931. In the early 1930s, incoming FBI agents were told during training classes that they were not to consider themselves flat feet, that is, ordinary beat cops who chased after street criminals. As late as 1933, the Bureau's agents were still serving mainly as fact-finders, investigating bank fraud or antitrust violations, or compiling crime statistics for the United States. Not the sorts of activities that required wielding a lethal weapon. Although the frequently repeated claim that FBI agents were not allowed to carry guns back then is mistaken, it's true that most agents did without them. It just wasn't a very dangerous job. Interstate sex trafficking and transportation of stolen autos across state lines were about the only federal offenses that offered any prospect of risk to FBI men. No FBI agent had been murdered in the line of duty since 1925, when Edwin C. Shanahan was shot to death while unarmed trying to arrest a big-time car thief in Chicago. Even for the few federal crimes over which the Bureau had jurisdiction, FBI agents generally had to enlist a local police officer, sheriff, or U.S. Marshal to make the actual apprehension. Odd as it may seem today, FBI men back then had no power of arrest of their own. If they caught a federal offender in the act, they'd search around for a telephone to call a qualified arresting officer or drive somewhere to find one. By that time, it might have been too late. Hugh Clegg, a Mississippian who joined the FBI in 1926, recalled the dilemma vividly. He remembered being accompanied by local police officers to the homes of federal fugitives and being told, "You guard the back and I'll go in the front. You don't have a gun, so I'll go in." Clegg would stand at the back door with a brick as a weapon, hoping the fugitive wouldn't come out that way. "If he'd come out shooting, I had no defense at all," he said. The 29-year-old Hoover became the acting and then permanent director of the FBI in 1924, when his predecessor, William J. Burns, was forced to resign after being implicated in the Harding administration's bribery scandal involving Teapot Dome oil reserve leasing. The Justice Department was known then as the Department of Easy